Heartwarming journey, unexpected reunion at a wedding reveals incredible truth after 10 years. Emily stood outside the church, the soft glow of twinkling lights spilling through the arched windows and illuminating the crisp evening air. She was just a waitress in Maplewood now, her art dreams traded for the grind of life. But tonight, as she took a deep breath, the scent of fresh flowers and candle wax took her back a time when she painted sunsets instead of serving coffee. Joy and sorrow tangled in her heart. Her best friend's wedding felt like a bittersweet escape from reality, a glimpse of hope she thought had vanished when her mother passed away. Inside, the church pulsed with laughter and love. Emily's eyes landed on Jake, her high school sweetheart, standing tall and handsome in a crisp black suit. Memories washed over her like an old movie playing in her mind. But then came the crash. The clinking of champagne glasses and clattering of laughter faded as he introduced his fiancée, Claire. Poised, polished, and from one of Maplewood's most respected families. A green wave of jealousy surged within her, a reminder of her unfulfilled dreams. Her heart tightened in her chest. Why hadn't she pursued art? Why did she let the weight of family expectations crush her spirit? Memories of her parents' words echoed in her mind, stressing the importance of stability over passion. The thought rattled like a broken record, feeding her insecurities as she watched them glide across the dance floor, a perfect couple. As the evening unfolded, a mix of charming toasts and melancholy thoughts tugged at her heart. The joyful ambience clashed with her own feelings of inadequacy. Then, a surprise announcement sent ripples of murmurs through the crowd. Claire's family had masterminded Jake's return, shielding his military accomplishments to display a curated version of success. A gasp escaped Emily's lips as the implications sank in. Wealth and social power didn't erase the worth of the journey, but they overshadowed it. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With newfound courage, Emily approached Jake. Tentative steps led to uncertain smiles, and they quickly traded whispers beneath the flickering candlelight. It felt like stepping back in time, each heartbeat loud with unspoken words. She sensed the smile creeping into her eyes, their connection igniting old hopes that battled once again against encroaching shadows of doubt. Why didn't we ever? She started, voice trembling with emotions. The weight of years hung between them like a fragile thread, waiting to snap. Underneath her nervous laughter, she felt empowered. Importantly, she could challenge the expectations of their town. As they shared glimpses of vulnerability, she knew that the truth about their lives was more complicated than anyone realized. And just when it seemed they could embrace those tender moments, the clock struck midnight, closing the door on a night filled with potential and unanswered questions. Would they tread carefully back into their pasts, or leap into the unknown future together? Hearts raced as all eyes turned to them, leaving the shadows of doubt hanging thick in the air, urging them to decide before time slipped away. As the final chime of the clock faded, the gravity of the moment hung heavy between Emily and Jake. Their laughter dulled, replaced by an unsettling silence that stretched across the room like a taut wire ready to snap. Emily's stomach twisted with uncertainty. How many years had they let slip away? They'd been just kids with a shared dream, but now they stood as strangers in a familiar landscape. Jake's gaze fell to the floor, then flickered back to hers, searching for clarity. Emily, his voice was thick, the emotions crackling as they lingered in the air. She remembered the way he looked at her back in high school, the way that glance could make her feel invincible. Jake, she breathed, the name falling from her lips like a prayer. I can't believe you're here. After everything I didn't know if I'd ever see you again. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She longed to bridge the chasm of years and mistakes that lay between them. He stepped closer, the warmth radiating from him stirring something deep inside her. "The military," he began, but the words caught in his throat. "It's like a different lifetime. I thought of you every day. But I had to do my duty. And Claire, well, she was part of the plan." "Part of the plan?" Emily echoed, confused. "What plan?" Jake shifted, the light of the candles flickering across his face. "Their vision, my return. They wanted a perfect picture to show the world. But it wasn't just about my service. It was about fitting into their mold." His honesty struck her like a hammer, shattering the illusions she had built around his life. "Oh," she whispered, her heart aching with empathy. She imagined him, miles away, fighting for his country while he was also fighting against expectations at home. The boy she'd loved wasn't just gone, he had been trapped in a life he never chose. Just then, Claire's voice chimed over the crowd, calling for her groom. Jake's eyes flickered to her and back to Emily, a battle raging behind his familiar smile. "I need to go," he murmured. "I have to be with her." Emily felt a pang of something sharp in her chest, but just as quickly, she remembered the courage she'd felt before. "Jake, wait. You don't have to fit into anyone's mold. You can choose. This is your life, not theirs." He hesitated, torn between duty and desire, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed the clock had stopped for them. "Emily," he said softly, a plea in his eyes. "What do you want?" A vivid image of long brushes and vibrant canvases flashed through her mind. The fleeting joy of painting her dreams, but even more importantly, the warmth of what they had shared. I want freedom. The kind that allows us to be ourselves." The look in his eyes shifted, a flicker of understanding blooming. "Maybe we both want the same thing." Before she could respond, Claire approached, her smile bright yet flickering with curiosity, and she stood between them like a wall built of expectations. Emily watched as Jake, in that moment, melted into the crowd beside Claire, leaving Emily feeling suspended, like an unfinished painting. With tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, she turned away. That flicker of connection might have faded, but the spark it ignited remained, urging her to take a step toward her true self. As she exited the church into the cool night, Emily made her way down the sidewalk crowded with stars and her heart. Somewhere within, a question lingered: how would she reclaim her dreams? That thought ignited something deeper in her soul. What if she danced to her own music, created her own art, forged her own path, even without Jake beside her? But could she truly embrace the uncertainty ahead? As the moonlight bathed her face in a soft glow, she felt a new beginning brewing within her. And just then, an unexpected voice called from the shadows, "Emily." Her heart raced as she turned to see a stranger approaching, a knowing smile on their face. What secret could this new arrival hold for her, and how would it change everything? Emily's heart drummed in her chest as she stared at the stranger in front of her. They looked familiar, almost like a character from a dream, yet their face was framed by a wild mane of curly hair and sparkling eyes that twinkled beneath the moonlight. "Hey! I'm Ben," the stranger said, stepping into the light, his voice warm and inviting. "I saw you talking to Jake back there. You two looked intense." "Yeah, intense is one way to put it," Emily replied, trying to mask the whirlwind of thoughts swirling in her head. "How do you know him?" Ben chuckled softly, leaning against the lamppost as if they'd shared years of friendship. "We go way back. High school buddies. I'm surprised he hasn't mentioned me. Guess he is still tangled up in his life choices. You know how it goes." The mention of Jake stirred something within her. "I guess he has a lot on his plate right now." The words felt heavy, coated with unspoken feelings. Ben tilted his head, studying her. "You seem different. I don't know how to explain it, but you have this light about you, like you're on the brink of something big." Emily wasn't sure how to respond. Praise was nice, but it felt surreal coming from a total stranger. "I'm just trying to find my way, I guess. Sometimes it all starts with a single choice, Ben said, stepping closer, his tone more serious now. You never know when the universe nudges you toward a new path. Take it from me, change can be the best thing. She felt a rush of energy, a spark igniting in her core. What do you mean? Well, after high school I followed my passion for music instead of sticking to the safe route my parents chose for me. It wasn't easy, but every risk I took led me somewhere better. I'm living it now, you know. Sometimes you have to jump. Emily felt her heart race at the thought of jumping into the unknown. But what if I fail? Failure is just a stepping stone. Every setback is a lesson, he said, his eyes shining with conviction. The real failure is not trying at all. Look, if you're scared, just start small. Grab a brush, get some paint, do what makes you feel free. Trust me, it'll do wonders. That advice tugged at her. Painting had always been her escape, a way to drown out the noise. But could she really dive back in after all this time? You're right, she murmured. I've let fear hold me back for too long. Yes. There you go, Ben encouraged, his smile wide. And if you need a little push, I'll take you to one of my gigs. Who knows, maybe the music will inspire your art. Your gigs? The prospect of experiencing something different was both exhilarating and terrifying. Sure, trust me, good music can open up all kinds of channels in your brain. Just think about it. He glanced back toward the church. I should let you go back inside, but I'll be around if you want to talk more. Wait. She called out as he started to walk away. What if I do need help? Where can I find you? He paused, flashing another bright smile. I'll be lurking around. Just look for the music. Follow your heart, and maybe you'll hear me playing. He disappeared back into the crowd, and Emily felt that flicker of hope reignite. The weight of the years melted away, replaced by a glimmer of possibility. She took a deep breath, contemplating the crossroads before her. The night was still young, and she had choices to make. But just as she turned to head back toward the church, a flash of red caught her eye, a canvas wrapped in a bright cloth peeking out from an alley. It beckoned her, a reminder of the art she had long neglected. Maybe this was the moment to take action. Could she truly step forward, embrace her dreams, and paint her future? As she reached for the fabric, feeling the threads between her heart and her passion entwine, another voice pierced the night air. Emily! There you are. She turned to find Claire, her face a mask of concern mixed with curiosity. We've been looking for you. You need to come back. Jake's about to give his speech. With her heart pounding again, Emily felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Would listening to Jake's words pave a way back to the connection they had lost? The stakes suddenly felt higher, the night felt charged. But as she stood at that crossroads, deep down, Emily knew one truth: she was ready to embrace whatever came next, even if that meant facing Jake again. Emily's heart raced as she followed Claire back toward the church, the excitement pulsing through her veins. It felt surreal that just moments ago she'd been caught in a conversation that rekindled her enthusiasm, and now, she was about to face Jake, a whirlwind of emotions crashing against her like waves. As they stepped inside, the warm glow of the candlelit hall enveloped her. The chatter of guests mingled with laughter, yet Emily felt the heaviness of anticipation. Thick tension clung to the atmosphere, and she spotted Jake across the room, standing tall and handsome, but in a way, still lost. The sight of him stirred both joy and despair within her. Go on, Claire whispered, giving her an encouraging nudge before disappearing into the crowd. Emily hesitated. What was left to say after all this time? What could she say that wouldn't feel like a cliché echo of the past? Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, her mind racing. She brushed past elegantly dressed guests and oversized floral arrangements, each step heavier than the last. Suddenly, their eyes locked. Jake's expression shifted, and for a moment, the world around them blurred. "Emily," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He took a step closer, the air between them charged with unspoken words. She could see the nervousness in his eyes, the recognition of a shared history. "I didn't think I'd see you here." "Yeah, well, it's a wedding," Emily replied, attempting humor to mask her anxiety. "Kind of hard to avoid." Jake frowned slightly, more serious than she remembered. "I heard you and Claire went into the city. It's been a while." "Yeah. Life's taken me on a wild ride." She could feel the weight of truth behind her words. Each second spent apart seemed to lay bare the distance that had grown between them. "But I'm trying to find my way back." He studied her carefully, those familiar blue eyes searching for something. "I understand more than you think. I've changed too. The past few years have taught me a lot." As he spoke, Emily's mind wandered back to memories of their laughter, the easy way they had shared everything. It anchored her, reminding her of why the thought of reconnecting brought both hope and fear. "What have you learned?" she asked, genuinely curious. He paused, a frown knitting his brow. "That trying to control everything only leads to more chaos. I lost myself, Emily. Took a path I thought was right, but now." He shook his head, frustration shadowing his features. "I want to be better not just for me, but for the people I care about." "I get that," Emily replied softly. The moment felt raw, like they were on the edge of a revelation neither of them could quite articulate. "It's hard to know what to do when everything changes." "Exactly," Jake said, looking almost relieved that she understood. "And I wish I'd realized sooner how important it is to embrace those changes instead of running away." Emily's heart swelled with both loss and longing. Could this dance of regret transform into something new? The connection was still there, but what would they do with it? Before she could voice any of her swirling thoughts, the music shifted, signaling the guests to quiet down as the officiant prepared for the speech. Jake's expression turned serious and vulnerable. "I should take my place," he said reluctantly, but something in his eyes lingered, a promise to delve deeper, to uncover the unhealed wounds together. "Jake," she called out, but just as the words formed, he turned away. Her heart sank, anticipation warring with despair as she watched him walk to the front. She knew that this moment wouldn't be the last. She needed to reclaim that canvas, the spark Ben had kindled in her, and face her future boldly. The crowd hushed, and Jake cleared his throat. Emily held her breath, wondering if he would speak words that would pull them closer or drive them apart. But what she didn't expect was for Jake's first words to reveal a truth that would set everything into motion. "That really love is about letting go," Jake said, his voice steady, yet tinged with emotion that echoed through the silent hall. Emily felt her heart skip as everyone in the room leaned in, hanging on to every word. "It's not about holding on so tight that you forget to breathe. It's about trusting in the connection and stepping into the unknown together." Emily's breath hitched. Did he mean? "There was a time when I thought holding on to the past was the only way to stay close to those I love," Jake continued, his eyes searching the crowd, stopping just short of locking onto Emily's gaze. "But clinging to memories can suffocate a new beginning. I needed to learn that letting go could open doors I never even imagined." Her heart soared. Was he talking about them? Was this his way of reaching out? The guests began to nod in understanding, murmurs rippling through the crowd. They were feeling it too, the vulnerability suspended in the air like a soft mist. Jake continued, his voice unwavering. "I've spent too long in darkness, focusing on what I lost instead of appreciating what I still had right in front of me." There it was, the spark. It fueled Emily's belief that they might work together to write a new chapter. "So, if you're out there, those I've hurt or pushed away, know that I am here, learning every day how to be better. Let us not waste these moments worrying about what we should have done. Instead, let us embrace what we can do now." Emily's heart raced. She could feel the warmth building in the room, a collective realization washing over them. They were all human, imperfect, and it was okay to ask for forgiveness. Let us take these steps together, and commit to growth, to love in every shape and shade. But it starts by letting go of those barriers we've built. The sincerity in his voice cast a spell over her, pulling her closer even though the distance was tangible. She felt brave, leaning into the whirlwind of emotions surrounding her. As he finished, the applause erupted like a wave, enveloping them. Jake looked around, taking a moment to savor the ongoing appreciation, and then, as if sensing Emily's gaze, he turned back to her. Their eyes met, and for a brief second, it was just them among the crowd. But then, just as quickly, his moment of clarity dispersed. He looked away, back to his fellow wedding guests, who were now moving about, animated and lively, all under the spell of his words. The music began again softly, a gentle backdrop to the aftermath of his heartfelt speech. Emily could feel the somber weight of what just transpired, and it brought on a swell of determination. Could she reach him beyond the flurry of guests? With a deep breath, she moved toward him through the throng, weaving past conversations and joyous reunions. Every pulse of her heart urged her forward. She was ready to confront what lay ahead, ready to reclaim the missing pieces of their relationship. "Jake!" she called out, her voice breaking through the bubbling laughter. As a few faces turned to look, she felt both fear and excitement dance within her. His head turned slowly, giving her a curious yet slightly nervous expression. Clarity flashed in his eyes, mixed with something deeper, something that hinted at a question yet to be asked. Would this moment shift everything? Would she be brave enough to uncover the layers between them? And just as she opened her mouth to speak, a figure stepped in, blocking Jake from her view. Emily paused, uncertainty gripping her. Was this yet another chance lost? But as she focused on the newcomer, her heart sank. Something was unfolding, something she hadn't anticipated, and it was about to change everything again. Emily squinted through the crowd, trying to see past the figure that now stood right in front of Jake. It was Clara, an old friend of his who had always been a bit overbearing, drawing attention wherever she went. Why now? Why here? Clara's hand rested lightly on Jake's arm, her voice lilting and animated as she regaled him with a story. Emily felt a cold knot tighten in her stomach. Was this the distraction she feared? What if Clara was there to pull him away, to remind him of all that was outside the walls they had just envisioned breaking down? Clara's laughter rang out, warm and inviting, drawing others to her like moths to a flame. Emily rubbed her arm, the warmth gone. She forced herself to breathe deeply, but it felt like wading through molasses. She fought against her instincts to retreat, to give up. "Don't be that person," she whispered to herself. "You can do this." She took another step forward, determined to break through the barriers of laughter and chatter. The music swelled, creating a backdrop that felt both comforting and suffocating. Each beat tugged at her heart, urging her onward. Just as she prepared to make her move, Clara spotted her and paused mid-story. "Oh! Emily!" Clara exclaimed, a bright smile appearing. "You're just the person I wanted to see. Jake was talking about you. Did you hear his speech?" If only Clara knew the depths of what was unspoken between them. The question lingered in the air like smoke, both inviting and forbidding. Emily glanced at Jake. His eyes flickered with something, maybe excitement or concern, and that tiny spark tugged at her. There was a chance there, a sliver of hope. "Yeah, I heard," Emily replied, her voice steadier than she felt as she steadied her gaze on Jake. "It was powerful. It really was." Clara replied, enthusiasm spilling over. "He has come such a long way, hasn't he? I always believed in him, but you, too, you're back in town. There's so much to catch up on. Maybe we could all get together and actually," Emily interrupted, her heart racing as she seized the moment. "Jake and I were just words tumbled over one another in her mind, just waiting to spill out. Together," she thought. She wanted to say together, to build something new, but what if that wasn't what he wanted? Talking, she finished, forcing a smile. Just for a minute. The words came out barely above a whisper, drowned almost by the music. Clara blinked, clearly caught off guard. For a moment, the light in her eyes dimmed and the vibrant chatter around them faded into background noise. Jake shifted slightly, looking at Emily with an expression she couldn't quite read. Was it annoyance at Clara not getting the hint or something deeper? Oh. Sure. Of course. I'll, give you two some space, Clara stammered before stepping back, still smiling but clearly confused. Jake's gaze returned to Emily as Clara stepped away, and the air between them felt charged. Her heart raced, breath hitching in her throat again. Emily, he said softly, his voice just for her. I liked what you said, she blurted, cutting him off. It wasn't exactly what she wanted to say, but it felt right in that moment. About letting go. Starting fresh. His eyes widened, absorbing her words. I didn't expect to see you, he admitted, his voice low enough that only she could hear it, but she could feel the weight of his sincerity. I didn't expect to be here either. Not like this. They hovered in that space, where everything felt both possible and fragile. But then, in the distance, a loud crash erupted as someone bumped into a table, sending drinks spilling everywhere. Laughter erupted again, this time edged with a hint of chaos. It was a reminder that this moment was anything but perfect, it was real, messy, and electrifying. Emily leaned closer, emboldened by the moment. Can we talk? Just you and me? Outside? Jake hesitated, and suddenly, the fading laughter grew louder, overwhelming. Clara's figure lingered at the edge of the crowd, watching. Yeah, he said finally, but the look in his eyes told her he sensed the stakes just as much as she did. With a rush of adrenaline, she moved towards the exit, Jake following her closely. The hum of the party faded behind them, but the weight of unfinished business hung heavy in the air. What would they discover outside? What truths were waiting to be unveiled? And as they stepped into the cool air together, a nagging thought echoed within her. Would this be the moment that changed everything for them, or would it be just another fleeting chance lost to the chaos of life? The night air was crisp, a refreshing contrast to the heat of the party behind them. Emily stepped out first, inhaling deeply as she felt the tension ease from her shoulders. Jake followed closely, his presence a mixture of comfort and uncertainty. Wow, it feels different out here, he said, his voice barely above a whisper as he leaned against the wall. The stars twinkled above, distant yet constant. Emily could hear the muffled sounds of laughter and music drifting through the open door, but she focused on him. Yeah, different, she echoed, turning to look at him. Her heart raced, a blend of anticipation and fear. I've missed this talking, just the two of us. Jake rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture that sent her mind spiraling. It felt so familiar yet so foreign at the same time. So, you're back, he said, trying to find the words. What's been going on? She hesitated. How could she explain the whirlwind of emotions she felt since coming home? A lot, she finally replied, glancing down. I've been trying to find myself again. It's been hard. Jake nodded, his brow furrowed. I get that. I can only imagine. I've been trying to do the same. The last couple of years have been well, let's just say they didn't go as planned. What happened? She asked. Suddenly, the noise behind them faded away, and it felt like they were in a world of their own. He took a deep breath, his eyes searching the ground. There were a lot of ups and downs. Some days I felt like I was on top of the world, and other days it felt like everything was falling apart. My dad, he paused. He got sick. It changed everything for me. Emily's heart dropped at the vulnerability in his voice. I'm so sorry, Jake. I didn't know. He looked up, his gaze steady. It's okay. He's doing better now, but it made me realize what I really want. What I need. Life is short, you know. It hit her like a wave, the enormity of those words. They stood together, two people changed by the weight of their experiences. What do you want? She asked softly, feeling the pull of connection. Jake took a half step closer. Honestly? I want to stop being afraid. I want to take chances. It's what you said, about letting go that's what I need too. Emily's breath caught in her throat. He was ready to talk, to open up, and it sent a rush of excitement through her. Then let us take a chance, she whispered, her heart pounding. I want to, he replied earnestly, stepping closer still. She could feel the heat radiating off him, the gravity of the moment tangible. But what if we take this step and it doesn't work? Then we'll figure it out. Together, she said, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. Life is too short to worry about what-ifs. A faint smile broke across his face, and the tension between them shifted, warming the cold night. Just as her heart fluttered, a commotion at the entrance snagged her attention. Clara, now outside, seemed a forceful presence as she waved them over. Hey! There you both are. Clara called out, her cheerfulness brimming, cutting through the moment like a knife. The reality of the party crashed down again, and Emily felt her pulse quicken. Looks like the fun's calling, Jake muttered, a hint of disappointment in his voice. Emily felt torn, the warmth of their conversation fading into uncertainty. Jake, she started, wanting to grasp the fleeting moment before it slipped away, but the chime of laughter from the party pulled her in, shaking her resolve. What do we do now? He asked quietly, glancing towards Clara, who was still gesturing excitedly for them to join. Let us go, Emily said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Maybe we can find a way to figure this out amidst the chaos. But as they moved toward the laughter, a single thought nagged at her: what if this rush of connection was just the beginning? What if chaos turned into clarity? And as they stepped back into the crowd, a new dilemma loomed: could they truly navigate the tempest of both heart and friendship in a world that felt so complex? What awaited them just beneath the surface? As they stepped back into the party, the pulsating music enveloped them once again, a throbbing rhythm that clashed with their moment of quiet connection. Emily's ears filled with laughter and chatter, but her heart still tuned into the conversation they just shared. Emily. Jake. Over here. Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. Clara was flanked by a couple of her friends, impossibly vibrant, spilling into the evening like a burst of confetti. Jake hesitated, glancing back at Emily. Their gazes met, and for a fleeting second, the world around them blurred. It was as if they both understood that the bond they were on the verge of exploring was fragile, woven from shared histories and unspoken hopes. But then Clara waved enthusiastically again, and the moment dissolved like dew under the morning sun. Simon, let us join them, Emily said, swallowing the bittersweet pang in her chest. She stepped away from their moment, toward the group, as if putting distance between her heart and the fear that clung to it. Jake followed, but his expression was heavy. The weight of unfulfilled possibilities hung in the air between them. As they approached Clara, a cup of something colorful and fizzy was thrust into Emily's hands. You have to try this. Clara bubbled, joy radiating from her. The party was in full swing, and the energy seemed contagious. Emily forced enthusiasm, toasting Clara with the plastic cup, but her thoughts were adrift. Jake was pulled into conversation by one of Clara's friends, a nice guy named Mark who had a way of making everyone laugh. Emily found herself on the edge of the group, watching Jake laugh at one of Mark's jokes, the way his shoulders shook and the light glinting off his eyes. Her heart twisted with a strange mix of admiration and longing. It comforted her, yet the deep shadow of fear loomed just beyond reach. Hey, Emily, Clara nudged her, pulling her from her reverie. Are you going to dance? Dance? She repeated, slightly overwhelmed by the suggestion. Everyone seemed to have thrown themselves into carefree abandon, moving rhythmically to the beat. That was what parties were for, right? But all she could think about was the certainty of that quiet moment with Jake, the unspoken truths hovering just beneath the surface. Just let go. Clara encouraged, practically bouncing on the balls of her feet. You're back home. Enjoy it. With a deep breath, Emily nodded, trying to shake off the uncertainty. She moved to where the crowd swayed, the vibrant energy wrapping around her. But it wasn't long before she felt Jake at her side, his presence warm and grounding. This feels different, doesn't it? He asked over the music, a tentative smile breaking through the chaos. It does, she admitted, sensing how the energy shifted with him there. Her stomach fluttered, a spark igniting within her again despite the fear of the unknown. Let's take that chance, he suggested suddenly, as if reading the thoughts clamoring in her mind. Dance with me? Right here? Emily hesitated at first, but then she saw the seriousness in his eyes, how he was reaching for something just as much as she was. Okay. As they danced, their bodies moving to a rhythm that felt electric, Emily suddenly realized they were both vulnerable in this moment. Every shift of weight, every laugh caught in the music, pulled them closer, and her heart raced. But in the middle of their quiet connection, a light-hearted tease from one of Clara's friends broke through. Hey, Emily. Jake. What is going on over there? Any romance happening? Caught off guard, Emily glanced at Jake, who was fighting a smile. Maybe something like that, he replied softly, turning that playful jibe into something sincere. What did we just dive into? She thought, realizing the moment was getting deeper. Yet uncertainty remained. It was a dance into something unknown, a step toward a path neither of them had mapped out. As the music enveloped them, Emily caught a glimpse of the potential for something more. And just as she was ready to embrace it, fear bubbled up again. What if everything twisted and turned again? What if the chaos overtook the clarity they were seeking? With every beat, every spin, she was left wondering, how messy could this heart of hers become? And more importantly, was she ready to face it? In the whirlwind of the party, Emily lost herself in the rhythm, each beat mingling with her racing heart. Jake's presence was a buoy, keeping her afloat amidst waves of laughter and chatter. When he caught her gaze, a jolt of electricity surged between them, something unspoken yet palpable. Let's take a break, Jake suggested, motioning toward a quieter area, a small alcove where the music faded to a distant murmur. The stars twinkled outside, casting a soft glow through the glass doors. They stepped away from the bustling crowd, and Emily felt the tension in her shoulders ease. This was more than just a party, it was a moment suspended in time, where the world around them faded, leaving only the two of them. Why do I feel like we just found a secret hiding spot? Jake said, laughter dancing in his voice as he settled against a wall. He crossed his arms, the playful tone easing the weight of the moment. Emily chuckled, maybe we did. It feels nice. Nice, Jake echoed, leaning closer. It's way more than just nice, Em. It's special. You know that, right? She inhaled deeply, trying to wrap her mind around it all. I guess I do. The truth hung between them, warming the air with its significance. A part of her yearned to leap into the vulnerability, to unravel the fears that had held her back for so long. Remember when we used to sit outside after school? He asked suddenly, recalling a memory that felt like yesterday yet lifetimes ago. Talking about everything and nothing? How could I forget? I think we were each other's first glimpse into the world. The sentiment made her smile, those innocent days filled with giggles and shared secrets seemed so distant now. But things changed, he continued, a flicker of something deeper passing through his eyes, and I lost touch with those moments. I missed you. Emily's heart jolted. You missed me? The hope that bloomed within her felt fragile, like a delicate flower in the shadows. Yeah, he replied softly. I did. More than I realized. It's funny how life pulls you in different directions, but here we are, back together. A heavy pause followed, where the weight of longing transformed into something tangible. I never stopped thinking about you, you know, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. His gaze intensified, locking onto hers. Neither did I. It scared me a little how much I cared. The laughter and noise of the party felt like a distant echo. It was just them, two souls caught in an uncharted territory, emotions soaring. Emily's breath quickened, the courage she'd been seeking seeming just within reach. But the tension returned, edging in with familiar dread. What came next? Were they willing to brave the waters of rediscovery? We stand there at the edge of something, Jake, she started, hesitant. But what if it doesn't work out? What if it's not what we hoped? Then we tried, he said, voice firm yet kind. And sometimes just trying is all that matters. Wouldn't you rather explore it? Those words wrapped around her heart, vulnerable and open. Yes, but the fear exists. But so does this moment. It's real. With a pulse of courage, Emily finally felt ready. Yet as they gazed into each other's eyes, lost in possibilities, Clara's voice punctured the moment again, calling for them. The laughter of friends pulled Emily back to reality. Jake's hand brushed hers, lingering just long enough to spark a flame inside her. Let us just dance again. We can talk about this later, he encouraged, that familiar smile breaking through the haze. Okay, she whispered, answering not just him but her heart's unearthed desires. As they stepped back into the party, everything felt different, like they had just begun to tiptoe into a new journey. The dance floor beckoned once more, but the questions swirled in her mind. What would happen if they ventured deeper? Was this the first step or just a fleeting moment? As they swayed together, the music hummed louder, and Emily could feel the weight of her heart. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the unexpected creak of the door captured her attention. Startled, she turned to see a figure standing in the doorway, a shadow from the past that she never anticipated. Her breath caught, the words she wanted to say stuck in her throat. Emily's heart stopped for a moment, her breath hitching as she recognized the figure framed by the door. It was Ben, his presence striking unexpectedly in the vibrant chaos of the wedding. He looked different but familiar, a hint of mischief glimmering in his eyes. Hey! Fancy running into you too. Didn't he expect to find you here, he exclaimed, with a bright grin that seemed to slice through the noise like a knife. Jake turned, his expression shifting from surprise to a blend of curiosity and tension. Ben! What are you doing here? I had a gig nearby and thought I'd swing by, Ben replied, looking between them, knowingly. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, that sparkle in his eye suggesting he could sense the undercurrents between the two. Emily's pulse raced as she felt the moment stretch. Would this be a disruption, or could this chance encounter provide the clarity they needed? She glanced at Jake, whose brow was furrowed, uncertainty threading through his expression. Just catching up, Jake said softly, barely meeting Ben's gaze. But Emily could see beneath the surface, he was grappling with his thoughts, just as she was. Yeah? Ben leaned in, teasing yet sincere. That's great to hear. You both look like you're on the verge of something important. Emily let out a small breath, his observation felt like a spotlight on their evolving connection. Ben's easy confidence wove through the air, and for a moment, she could almost hear faint echoes of encouragement around her. Important, Jake echoed, his voice barely more than a whisper. Can it be? Why not? Ben shrugged, remaining nonchalant, though Emily could sense he was onto something deeper. Every great story begins with a little risk. Just grab it while you can. The weight of those words resonated within Emily. Memories of their earlier conversation surged back, living authentically, stepping into the unknown, and relinquishing fear. With a sudden swell of courage, she turned back to Jake, her heart thumping loud enough that she was sure he would hear it. "We were just talking about taking a chance," she admitted, the truth spilling out. Ben's eyes gleamed. "See? I told you." Letting go of old fears, Jake added, the uncharacteristic warmth in his voice giving her strength. "It's been on my mind a lot lately." Seconds slipped through her fingers as they exchanged glances, the air thick with possibilities. Emily took a step closer to Jake, feeling the gravitational pull drawing them back together, tempting her to close the distance. "Let us do this," she said, her voice clear, steady. "Let us take the risk, for real this time." Jake's gaze softened, and in that moment, the world grew quieter, their shared determination threaded through the noise. "Yeah," he said, his voice gaining strength. I want to try." Just then, Clara appeared, a bright smile on her face temporarily oblivious of the monumental decision unfolding around her. "You too. I've been looking everywhere for you both," she exclaimed, enveloping Emily and Jake's hands in an unsuspecting grip. "We're starting another toast. Everyone's waiting." Emily felt a rush of uncertainty again, but she gripped onto Jake's hand, squeezing it for reassurance. They could do this no matter the chaos as long as they leaned into each other. "Let us go," she said, feeling resolve settle in her heart as they fell into stride, following Clara toward the crowd. Together. As they wove past their friends, laughter and excitement bubbled all around, the energy sparking new life in Emily. She could feel Jake beside her, the electric charge of his warmth tethering them together. Each step felt like an echo of what was to come. "And remember," Ben's voice called out behind them, playful, yet carrying that insight she craved, "sometimes the best moments happen when you least expect them." They reached the center of the room, surrounded by friends and family, Emily's heart swelling as she met Jake's gaze. Clara raised her glass, rallying the group. "To love, to friends, and to taking chances." The cheers erupted, filling the air, drowning out old fears and regrets. Emily felt light, a new beginning just within reach. As she lifted her glass, she glanced at Jake, their eyes locked, unspoken promises sparkling bright. Whatever came next, they were ready. For every risk, every uncertainty, this was the moment they would embrace. And as the room echoed with joyous laughter, Emily breathed in deep. This was it. The start of something real, something beautiful. It was as if the universe had finally aligned for her. And deep inside, she knew she wouldn't let it slip away again. The night went on, filling with voices, music, and dreams ignited anew. You need to subscribe now for more transformative stories just like this one. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.